You might have already heard of the TV broadcast hijacking in Seneca, South Carolina. The story's gained pretty wide currency on the internet, and part of the broadcast is available on YouTube, assuming it hasn't been taken down for whatever reason. For the uninitiated, the Seneca hijacking is one of the lesser-known broadcast signal intrusions. It was big news here, but the nation news media barely touched on it. I've decided to jolt down my impressions of the whole thing, even though other eyewitnesses have already described it more eloquently than I could.
I was at home on winter break when it happened, making chemistry flashcards in front of the TV. No one else was around. After watching the umpteenth Law & Order rerun, I got bored and started channel surfing. A couple minutes later, I stumbled upon this shitty public access channel where, bizarrely enough, my old high school Latin teacher was reading a poem with wearing this dorky, three-cornered hat.
I watched for a few minutes and had a good laugh. And I remembered him as being quite the serious person, not the type of dude who'd embarrass himself out in public like this.
I was enjoying it when suddenly there was this staticky crackle, and the screen cut to this multicolored test pattern. Before I had time to change the channel, there was another crackle, and this weird cartoon shows up on the screen. The animation style was kind of detailed, but also jiggly and rough. It reminded me of those old anti-drug PSAs, but it seemed normal enough at first. In it, there was an ordinary-looking middle-class family eating breakfast together at a round kitchen table. There was a mom with an old-fashioned hairdo, a dad, two cherub-faced kids, and a boy and girl. All very Norman Rockwell. The family is making normal small talk. The dad complains about his day at the office, the kids yapping about soccer practice, and so on. Gradually, though, the scene starts to get slightly sinister. A green light begins seeping through the open window, and the family starts to acquire a jaundiced, unhealthy look. Their skin changes color, and their eyes become sunken. In the background, a drone radio broadcast slowly becomes perceptible.
The announcer gives the date as November 15th, 2017.
It goes on and on about some strange crisis. You can barely hear what he's saying, but he says something about a green light, melting flesh, mutations, strange shapes emerging from the sea.
As the broadcast goes on, the man in it says one thing repeatedly.
Report to the nearest shelter immediately.
Despite this being audible, the family just keeps eating breakfast as if nothing is happening.
Here's where it gets really macabre. The family finishes eating breakfast and the mom loads the kids into a minivan. By now they look really unhealthy. Their bodies are skeletally thin. The whites of their eyes are a sickly yellow color, and their hair is disheveled. The car drives through a landscape bathed in that green glow. Strange shapes bob in and out of the screen, but you can't quite tell what they are. And all the buildings the car passes look withered and deserted. The car stops at a playground, and the mom drops off the kids before driving away. There are large, odd-colored rocks all over the ground, and moaning of pain can be heard in the distance. The kids hang mirthlessly on the monkey bars for a while. The camera pans over the playground, revealing that the rocks are not rocks at all, but naked human forms, horribly distorted by this green glow. They seem to be either growing into or from the ground. I can't say which. And they're very much alive. Behind the monkey bars, a tree can be seen with a human face fused into it, growing from the trunk, its features writhing and contorted in agony. The scene then suddenly shifts to a white-colored office where the children's father is stooped over a desktop typing away. His features are still sunken and disheveled as before, just like the other family members, and the office is covered in that same green glow. In the other cubicles, fleshless corpses sit upright at their desks, frozen in time. Finally, we see the family return home for the evening, walking through the front door together. And their skin is no longer simply jaundiced, but actually melting off at this point, dripping from their outstretched arms and running down their faces in drops. They're rapidly falling to pieces. The family then sits down and wordlessly begins to eat dinner. Their flesh becomes more and more amorphous, ribbons of skin dangling like tentacles of an octopus. I can barely describe it, but afterward they seem to somehow merge with the chairs they were sat on, or rather their skin grew over it. Their skin now has the consistency of melted ice cream, and they're barely even recognizable as human, apart from the eyes, which somehow remain intact. The camera pans closer and closer to the table. The family's eyes all move towards the camera, giving this feeling of utter sadness and heartbreak. The screen goes black, and large white letters appear on the screen, reading,
Report to the nearest shelter immediately. Remaining at private residences is strictly prohibited.
And with that, the screen turned to static. I stared in stunned silence for a few minutes before the original channel switched back on. And that is all I know, really. I almost thought I was dreaming until the paper reported the story the next day. God knows what really happened. A ridiculously elaborate prank? An ill-advised viral marketing campaign? The crazier parts of the internet have their own theories, and you can look up the video yourself if you're morbidly curious.